Good morning. So yesterday we had visitors here, people from France. That's right, a couple in their 50s. We never met them before. Fantastic people, purebloods, very smart, competent people. And of course we talked a lot about France. And they told stories about what was going on in France during this hysteria. And they said, for instance, this, the authorities, they said, if you are in a restaurant, you have to wear the mask. And then they said, well, if you're standing up, you have to wear the mask. If you sit down, you can take it off, right, when you're eating, right? And then there was a discussion about midgets. What about midgets? No, because when midgets stand up, they are at the same level, aren't they, as those who are sitting down. Big discussion. Another one was about dogs. People couldn't leave their apartment. Okay, well, they could for a short time, but if you had a dog with you, then you could walk outside. Nobody would bother you, right? And so those who had dogs, they noticed something. People came knocking on their doors, neighbors, right? And said, I want to take your dog for a walk. So these dogs, they were walking a lot, Amazing. Here in Sweden, we have reached some sort of a critical point in politics. It's about mass immigration. There's a lot of people now coming from North Africa and the Middle East. They're coming to the EU countries here, like Greece, like usual. They come to Greece, Italy, Spain, And the EU, they want to deal with this, and they don't. They just let them in, right? So now the EU, they want this agreement. So all these countries in the EU, they should negotiate and come to an agreement on which country should take these people and how many and so on, right? So they want to make this deal with all these countries, and they say that if you don't agree, then we will force you. Okay. So that's the idea that they have in Brussels. And here in Sweden we have a nationalist party that is big, and they are in the parliament and they are influencing the politics. And now they say, we can't make this deal. If you make the deal, they say, to the government, we will no longer support you. Very good. And now we are just waiting to see what will happen. Because now this conflict is getting bigger. The conflict between the Swedish government and these idiots in Brussels. And people are watching the Nationalist Party, of course, the Sweden Democrats. People are really paying attention to this. What's going to happen now? Will you go through with this threat? That's the big question. I think they have to, you see. They can choose, of course, not to. They can still support the government with this deal, but that would be a disaster for them, for the Nationalist Party, I mean. So it's quite interesting what's happening right now. I also saw this, well, I see a lot of these stories, of course. Somebody died, right? This was a Brazilian sports commentator, Cecilia Moraes, 24 years old. So she died. She died suddenly in April. She died of sudden heart complications, right? So we see all these people dying, right? This is just one story, of course. Very sad. Okay. And I was thinking, we see all these different professions dying off. people in media, teachers, nurses, carpenters, truck drivers. We see professions, different professions, people are dying, right? And then there is one profession that I don't think they are dying, actually. Nothing seems to happen to them. And it's the politicians. And I've been wondering about this earlier, and I want to ask you, what do you think? Why are the politicians sort of saved? Is it maybe some divine intervention, that is protecting the politicians? I thought, all these politicians, they are very healthy people, aren't they? In general. So maybe that's why, they don't die. I don't know. But I thought, well, we see athletes dying, right? Tennis players, football players, anyone who's athletic, they are apparently not protected because they are dying. But the politicians, they are. So I want to ask you, what do you think? Why is this going on? Is it possibly like this? Now, these people who had this idea about the tea, they didn't want the politicians to be hurt, because they are sort of their friend. They are friends, right? The politicians made all these things possible. The politicians, they did the lockdowns, they put up the rules, they did everything they were told, right? So they're sort of allies to those who wanted to do this. Maybe this is why these politicians, for some reason, are saved from harm. What do you think? I think maybe they got something else. I saw them getting it, Boris Johnson, Joe Biden, all these people in public with TV cameras. They got the injection, right? We saw it. Was there something else in the needle? I wonder. Well, this is what I believe. And I have believed so for a long time. You don't have to believe it. I'm just asking, what do you think? Why aren't they dying? Why? They seem to be okay, right? The politicians. All right. Be good.